You know, the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster, it was so much more than just a technical failure. It's a story of incredible scientific ambition, a hidden, fatal flaw that went completely unnoticed for 16 days, and a tragedy that truly changed the future of human spaceflight forever. So let's dive into the full story.
Roger, but those were the last words ever heard from Commander Rick Husband. And then, just silence. That sudden, chilling cutoff marks the exact moment of catastrophe. So how on earth did a mission that was all about scientific discovery end like this?
To really get what went wrong, we have to start at the beginning. The mission itself, STS-107, was special. This wasn't a construction trip to the space station or anything like that. Nope, this flight was purely 100% dedicated to science.
The whole plan was for the crew to spend 16 days up in orbit, basically working around the clock inside a pressurized lab. They had this huge list of experiments to run, things that would push our understanding of physics, biology, and all sorts of things in a zero-gravity world. And this was the amazing international crew that was chosen for the job. 7 astronauts in total, including Commander Rick Husband, Kalpana Chawla, and Ilan Ramon, who was actually Israel's very first astronaut. I mean, these were brilliant scientists, top-tier pilots, and true explorers, really at the top of their game.
All right, now we have to talk about the one critical moment that ultimately sealed Columbia's fate. It happened just seconds after liftoff, but nobody would realize its deadly consequences until 16 days later, as the shuttle was coming home.
Okay, so get this. Just 82 seconds into the flight, a piece of foam insulation, about the size of a briefcase, breaks off the giant external fuel tank. It's flying at something like 800 kilometers per hour when it slams right into the edge of the shuttle's left wing, punching a hole in the heat shield. And here's the crazy part. Cameras on the ground actually saw it happen. But the team at NASA looked at the data and concluded, you know what, it's probably not a serious risk.
To really understand why that little hole was so catastrophic, you have to look at this number. Those thermal tiles have to protect the shuttle's aluminum frame from temperatures hitting an insane 1600 degrees Celsius during re-entry. So any hole in that shield, well, it's like a tiny crack in a dam that's holding back a literal sea of fire.
So, and this is the crucial point, right? This wasn't some mystery. The foam strike was seen, it was analyzed, but there was this culture of just accepting things that weren't quite right, and it led to a fatal miscalculation. The damage was basically written off as minor wear and tear. A huge, tragic mistake.
Meanwhile, hundreds of miles above all of this, the crew is just getting on with their mission. For 16 days, life in orbit was completely normal. They had absolutely no idea about the ticking time bomb attached to their spacecraft. And for those 16 days, everything seemed perfect. The crew nailed their work, running over 80 experiments. They sent happy, cheerful messages back home to their families and took these absolutely breathtaking pictures of our planet. From their point of view, the mission was a total success.
During the mission specialist Kalpana Chawla sent this message down to Earth. It's just such a powerful window into the passion that drove every single one of these astronauts. And looking back now, it's just an incredibly poignant and heartbreaking part of their story.
And that, of course, brings us to the morning of February 1st, 2003. After a mission that seemed flawless, Columbia fired its engines and started that long glide back home. A journey it was never going to finish.
The way things unraveled was just terrifyingly fast. Re-entry starts, and it seems fine. But then, at 8:54 a.m., sensors in the left wing start dying. Mission Control is seeing these wild temperature spikes. Just 5 minutes later, as the shuttle is streaking across the sky over Texas, all communication, all data just stops. By 9 a.m., Columbia was gone.
And here's why. That superheated gas from re-entry, it's called plasma, it just blasted its way through the hole that the foam had created. It basically acted like a blowtorch, melting the wing's internal aluminum frame from the inside out, until the whole thing just couldn't hold together anymore and was ripped to shreds.
All 7 astronauts were lost in an instant. The shuttle came apart at an altitude of over 60 kilometers, and it created this massive debris field that stretched for thousands of kilometers over 2 states. It was a scar, left on the land and on the heart of a nation.
So in the aftermath, the big question wasn't just what happened, but why it happened. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board was put together to find the truth, and what they found would shake NASA to its absolute core.
The board's final report pointed to 2 separate causes. First,
You have the technical one, right? The piece of foam hit the wing, broke the heat shield, straightforward. But they went deeper, and they found a cultural cause, an institutional mindset that had, over time, started to accept small problems as normal. There's a term for it: normalization of deviance. For years, engineers had been warning about foam breaking off, but eventually, those warnings were just dismissed as an acceptable risk.
And this brings us to the disaster's lasting legacy. Because the loss of Columbia wasn't just an end. It was a painful, necessary wake-up call that forced a complete reinvention of how we think about human spaceflight.
Right away, the entire shuttle fleet was grounded for more than 2 years. And when it finally returned to flight, the rules of the game had completely changed. Every mission now had to include on-orbit inspections of the heat shield using a robotic arm. Astronauts were given repair kits, and the International Space Station was officially named a safe haven, a place where a damaged shuttle crew could wait for a rescue.
But in the end, the Columbia disaster, coming after the Challenger tragedy years before, just drove home how risky the shuttle design really was. It sped up the decision to retire the whole fleet, and the program flew its very last mission in 2011, closing a huge chapter in the history of space exploration.
But the memory of that crew, that lives on. Their names are carved into memorials. They're on schools and streets. And I think this is the most beautiful tribute. 7 asteroids now carry their names. So Rick, William, Michael, Kalpana, Laurel, David, and Elon, they are, in a way, still on their journey among the stars, forever.
Their story is this constant, powerful reminder that exploration is never easy, and it always carries risk. And it leaves us with a really important question to think about. How do we truly honor their sacrifice? We do it by pushing forward, for sure, but with caution, with courage, and with the incredibly hard-won wisdom that they left behind for all of us.